Hey there everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name's Matt, and booting up on the screen is the Wang Laboratories PC321. The PC321 is a 386SX16 based machine made by Wang Laboratories in the early 90s. Now, Wang Laboratories was a pretty big computer manufacturer starting off in the 70s and then made popular in especially pop culture by Martin of The Simpsons when he was wearing a Wang Computers t-shirt on the school bus. By the 90s though, Wang Laboratories was all but pretty much dead. The clone computer market had pretty much taken over everything at that point, and their specialty type stuff, which was geared towards officers, wasn't really competitive anymore. Now in this machine, I do not have a sound blaster for a change. I actually have an ESS audio drive. The ESS audio drive is basically a clone of a sound blaster, but it was sort of at a lower price point and a little bit more common in sort of the clones, whereas the sound blaster was sort of something you would buy if you wanted a higher end device. Nevertheless, the audio drive is actually a really good sound card. Some would say it actually rivals or exceeds the early sound blasters. What I just did there on the screen is I just cranked the volume down a little bit to basically 5 out of 10 because this is all digital controlled, and that way it's not going to distort for this recording. Alright, so you may be wondering, what are we going to be playing today? Well, today we are going to be playing King's Quest VI, arguably what most people would call the best King's Quest there was. So let's get started. Loading up on the screen now, we're going to see the big Sierra. But of course, first we've got our little copyright thing. And as you can hear just with the Sierra intro, the sound of the ESS audio drive is lovely and crisp, and it definitely is a little bit better than the early Sound Blaster 2s. Now, for those of you who've watched the KQ5 playthrough, you'd recognise this screen. It's pretty much absolutely identical, except they replaced the 5 with a 6. And our motto for this one is Air Today, Gone Tomorrow. Down the bottom here we have a few options. We can restore a game, watch an opening, read the help, or play. Now with this one here, this is the floppy disk version, or at least it's part of the floppy disk version. But unfortunately the opening doesn't work. If I click on the opening button, it'll kind of sit here and it'll do nothing for a bit, and then I'll get an error. And the error is the files needed to run the opening cartoon are not available on your hard drive. Please reinstall the game if you wish to see the cartoon. Now, this has been installed on this computer since the early 90s, and I cannot find the installation media for KQ6. So, unfortunately, I may have had the CD-ROM version, and this was kind of the DOS cut-down version that you can install from it, but I can't 100% remember. Now, the introduction I can sort of talk through because I do remember what it was about. Basically, at the end of King's Quest V, the whole of King Graham's family was rescued, and we also rescued Princess Casimir, who has been held slave by Mordak. Now, Princess Casimir, I believe, comes to Alexander in a vision from the magic mirror saying that she needs help or something like that. So Alexander, I think it was help. It might have just been that Alexander wanted to visit her, but I'm pretty sure she called for help. Anyway, end of the day, Princess Alexander is traveling to the land of Green Isles to meet up with Princess Casimir, whether it's to help her or whatever. Now, as he travels over there, his boat, unfortunately, is involved in a shipwreck on an island. Now, if the cartoon sequence had actually worked in this, you'd basically see what I just said. Alexander being contacted by Casimir. His boat kind of sails along, and eventually he wrecks here, and here we are on this beach. So we're not missing out on a lot. I really would like to see if I can get this part working at some point, but for now, let's just get on with the playthrough, and maybe I can post it up later. So, typical SCI Sierra fashion, we have the point and click interface with our walk, interact or pick up, our look at, and our speech. Obviously this is our inventory, and then over here we have our settings. Now because this is kind of a lower end system, I'm going to crank the speed up a little bit just to make the playthrough go a bit faster. Apart from that, let's get started. So here we are on the beach. We can sort of see the waves are lapping in and out. The graphics are a little bit better than KQ5, which is also nice. And we can sort of see here there's a glint. Glints are always something to look at. So here we have Alexander's royal insignia ring lies abandoned on the sand. It must have slipped from his finger during the shipwreck. Fortunately, it was not lost in the sea. So let's pick this little guy up. Alexander picks up his royal insignia ring from the beach. Now if you missed that, you're in deep trouble because the next part won't work. Now as for the rest of this, we can kind of just click on this flotsam. Alexander pushes the plank to one side. A box has been partially buried under the sand. Alexander opens the box. So inside the box, you notice we have another glint. There is a copper coin in the treasure box. The coin bears the seal of Daventry and the King Graham's noble face. Alexander takes the coin and leaves the ruined box where it is. Alright. So basically on the beach we found a ring and a coin. Now as for the rest of this stuff, we can try and click on the rock. We don't need the rock. No use for ship debris. There's basically nothing else that we can interact with on this screen. So all we can do now is head off north. We can technically walk off into the sea, but the current just kills us, and there's a bit more of a fun way to do that later on, so we're going to leave that for now. I always love this scene in KQ6. It's very serene with the birds tweeting in the background and the nice tree and the castle and the village. But for now, our primary objective for actually coming to the land of Green Isles was to see Casimir, and since she's a princess, she'll be in the castle, so that is a good place to start. Alright, so here we have some very noble music playing. So here's the castle. We have a couple of guards here, so let's have a chat to them. Alexander politely addresses the odd-looking guards at the castle doors, hoping to learn more about his predicament. Good day to you guards. I was cast upon this island in a storm, and I'm a little confused about my location. Could you tell me what this place is, and who lives in this castle? Eh, what's that you say? A castaway? A likely story. We haven't had any foreigners in this part since Alzar had arrived. Don't be so rude, Gruff. He's not asking for any secrets. You're standing in the Isle of the Crown, lad, and this is the Castle of the Crown. The royal family resides here, or rather, what's left of the royal family. The Isle of the Crown? But tell me, am I anywhere near the land of the Green Isles? This is the land of the Green Isles. The Isle of the Crown is the main island, foolish boy. Then Princess Casimir must live in this very castle. Aye, the princess is indeed our treasure jewel to guard, and we consider it an honour. Alright, so we're in the right place. So let's see if we're going to have a audience with her, I guess. Excuse me, guard dogs. I've been travelling for months to see Princess Casimir. I would like an audience, please. I'm sorry, but the princess is not receiving visitors, particularly not strangers. It's kind of weird considering the fact that she invited us in the last King's Quest. I really must see the princess. Could I please speak with someone in charge? Who are you that I should bother Captain Saladin? My name is Alexander. I'm a prince of Daventry and a friend of the princess. A prince, is it? I see. And I'm the lord of this dusty path. Step aside. You'll not be getting in this castle without some proof of your claims. Well, luckily on the beach, we found our washed up Daventry ring. Let's see if this carries any weight. Alexander decides to try his royal insignia on the guards. With all of his papers lost in the shipwreck, it is the only possible proof of his identity that he can think of. Perhaps this ring will convince you of my identity. It's the royal insignia ring of Daventry. I'm sure. Just let me look at that ring. Well, I'm sorry, Your Highness. It's just the princes are so uncommon in these parts. Let me get Captain Saladin. The guard returns a moment later with a majestic-looking creature. Captain Saladin speaks with a voice that is gentle but reflects a will of iron. Prince Alexander of Daventry, I presume. I'm afraid I'm familiar with your country, but I'm sure Vizier Al-Zarid will want to meet with you, if indeed you are a friend of the princess. Please, follow me. Every time I hear the term Vizier, it's always someone evil. And I don't know if that's just a thing, or like, maybe that position is legitimate somewhere in medieval times. I don't know, I'm not really that much of a history person. Lord Azarid, a visitor to see you. Prince Alexander of Daventry. What is it that you seek, Prince Alexander? Pardon the intrusion, my lord, but I came to see Princess Casimir. Some months ago my father, King Graham, saved my family and I from imprisonment under an evil wizard named Mordak. The same wizard that kidnapped the princess? Exactly. When my father rescued us, he also liberated Casimir and sent her home. Then your father has my gratitude and that of the entire kingdom, but I'm afraid I still fail to see the purpose of your visit. Well, I came to make sure that Casimir arrived safely and to pay my respects. Before we parted, she gave me an invitation to visit. I have no doubt she did exactly that at the time, Prince Alexander. However, things have greatly changed for Casimir since her ordeal in Mordak's castle. Casimir's parents both became ill and died while she was gone. Casimir is sequestered in mourning for them, as befits a princess. She's not receiving visitors of any kind. Even if she were, I do not think your visit would be appropriate. You see, it is time for Casimir to take her responsibilities seriously. With her parents gone, she has no longer the luxury to be a carefree maiden. As was her parents' wish, Casimir and I are to be wed. We shall rule the kingdom together, and I assure you our marriage is all Casimir wants now. As a prince and a gentleman, it will be best that you leave before there is any further embarrassment. I see. I suppose that I was mistaken. I thought for certain that Casimir... Well, I apologise. A young man sees what he wishes to see. I'm sorry you've wasted your time travelling to the land of Green Isles. May your journey home be swift. Perhaps I'll take the opportunity to look around your fair land while I'm here. And I'm just going to stop here for 1 second. Just pay attention to this guy in the background. I would advise against that. The kingdom is rather, shall we say, inhospitable these days, but is your neck. You may risk it if you please. Captain Saladin will escort you from the castle. Good day. Now you may have noticed this guy in the background. I was hoping he'd do it once more, but his eye was glinting just every now and then as he turned. So just keep that in mind for a bit further in the game. You have had your hearing with Vizier Al-Zarid. I trust you'll respect his wishes and not return. I've been instructed not to let you in the castle again. Good day, my lord. Captain Saladin whispers something to the guard dogs at the castle gate, and they nod with understanding. Alexander has a feeling they will not be letting him in the castle again. Okay, so at this point we're just going to do a quick save. So I might have recalled wrong about the mirror telling them that, you know, the princess was in trouble or something like that. But anyway, we've travelled here and we are basically told to go away and we can't see the princess. So I'm just going to call this Matthew 1, give that a save. Okay. So at this point, we can't get in the castle. If we just try and keep knocking on the door or anything like that, they just don't let us in. The little path here goes around to the side of the castle, and there's nothing there we can do at the moment. So we're just going to leave that be. Nonetheless, I'm sure we're going to be returning. So at this point, we've explored the castle, and all we've got left to explore on this island is over here in the township. So let's give that a look. Okay, so we can see here we've got some sort of merchant selling some wares, we've got a pawn shop, and we've got Ali's books. So we're just going to start off, potentially, well, let's talk to this guy, because he sometimes disappears for a bit. Good day, peddler. Good day, sir. If you would like to get one of my fine new lamps, I'll need an old lamp in trade. Isn't it rather a bad business, taking old lamps and giving new lamps in exchange? Well, there's always a chance that I'll find a genie. If I had a genie, I'd be richer than a king. Besides, there's always a roaring business in antique luminaries. So this guy trades old lamps for new. So we don't have a lamp at the moment, so we don't need to worry about him too much. Let's try the pawn shop. Okay, so in here, good day. Let's have a talk with this guy. Good day, merchant. What can you tell me about the land of Green Isles? I can tell you she's in a dark time. Without the ferry, communication between the islands has ground to a halt, and so nearly has my business. Why the long ages of peace have ended, and why the crown has not done something about it, is beyond me. But then, I am a shopkeeper, not a politician, and can only hope for better days. So the land's in kind of a bad way at the moment. So I think he just basically, he just kind of goes around in a circle at this point. If you have a look on his table here, you can see he's got some wares. So Alexander takes a closer look at the items on the counter. The flute is only made of plain wood, but its notes are fine and true. I see you've noticed my mechanical nightingale. She's made of plain tin, but she sings the sweetest song you can imagine, barely distinguishable from the real thing. Ah yes, the painter's brush. It was well used by one of the island's best painters. There's a lot of creativity in that brush, and its bristles are still in good condition. Have you an interest in tinderboxes? This one is only slightly battered. It holds a good supply of flint, a sturdy striking pad, and even a candle in case you find yourself with naught else to hold the flame. Alright, so there's a few wares here. Now the trick to this is, actually I might have done this slightly out of sequence. Let's try and take the nightingale. I'm interested in that mechanical nightingale on the counter. What do you desire to give me in trade? The items on the front counter are all of equally slight value, only worth a copper or two. They're handy items nonetheless. Okay, so in our inventory, we could trade the ring, and I think it lets you do that, but more fittingly, we have a coin. I have this copper coin. Is it of any value to you at all? Most interesting. I've never seen a Daventry coin before, but it's copper genuine enough. I might even find a buyer who's interested in foreign currency. The items of the front counter are the only things in the store that I can let go for the price of 1 copper. You may make your choice from there. Okay, so that is how we go into here. Now remember that this is a tinderbox, not a lamp, so we can't trade it with a peddler. Now, because I've played this before, I know which order in which we need to take these. And the first one we need is the nightingale, I believe. The mechanical nightingale looks intriguing. I believe I'll take it. Very well, your coin is well spent. Remember, this is a pawn shop. I'm always willing to take back my own goods in trade. I'll remember. Thank you. And that's a good point. So, After we're done with the nightingale, we can trade it for the flute, or we can trade it for the tinderbox, or we can trade it for whatever. Also on the counter here is this little jar. Alexander takes a mint. So it's a jar of mints, so that's kind of handy. Now you can see here on the back wall and stuff, there is a whole heap of other gear that we can kind of look at. The towering modely over other pawn shop curiosities, the stuffed bear makes an ostentatious display. The back wall of the shop holds various odds and ends. For example, a hull hole detector for finding those hard spot holes in small sailboats, which would have been useful in King's Quest V. Cat cookie mix. Play tricks on your friends, the box says. That's a reference to the cat in King's Quest 3. A golden bridle finder for those finding those nearly invisible golden bridles in King's Quest 4. Self-adhesive end rules. What to use when you don't have honey in King's Quest 5. Tongue climbing gear. Tested on 100 whale tongues. King's Quest 4 again. A uvulaticular. Guaranteed to make large mammals sneeze. Again, King's Quest 4. A cheese hook for retrieving cheese out of small holes. King's Quest 5. A shovel that's guaranteed not to break for over 100 grave diggings. King's Quest 4. A bridge repair kit for when you've crossed a bridge one too many times. King's Quest 2, I believe. Stair traction pads. Stop slipping off those narrow staircases. Pretty much every King's Quest, but I think it refers to King's Quest 4. And I think that's about it. Over here, I think it just kind of gives you this generic. The Land of Green Isles must have at least one inhabitant with interest in the mystical, for a crystal ball has been traded along with the more common household goods. So that's about it for the pawn shop just for now. So we've got our mint and we've got a mechanical nightingale. So back out here in the town, we can now take a look at Ali's books. Hello, I'll be right up. Now, what can I do for you? Okay, so this guy's like the merchant that sells the books. Then over here we have this guy in this sort of black robe looking thing. If we look at him, an old man occasionally steals sidelong glances at Alexander from under a concealing hood. That's a little bit strange. But for now, let's have a chat to this guy. Good day, sir. I'm a stranger in this land. What can you tell me about the Land of Green Isles? That is quite a question, young man. Who are you, and what would you have to tell me? My name is Alexander. I know I'm on the Isle of the Crown, but I'd like to know whatever you can tell me about this island, and if there are any other islands nearby. You are indeed a stranger. Anxious is the man who knows not the customs of the land beneath his feet. This island is called the Isle of the Crown, because the royal family's castle is here. Besides the castle, we always have this village, the docks, over to the west. There are at least 3 other islands. The Isle of the Sacred Mountain, the Isle of the Beast, and the Isle of Wonder. At least 3? Does no one know for certain? This is no ordinary land, Alexander. The land of the Green Isles has always been a place of vague boundaries, as if islands come and go. Legend speaks of a 4th island, an isle shrouded in mists. I myself have never seen it. Then too, the land of the Green Isles is said to exist on the boundaries of this world and the next. Even darker places are reputed to be closer here than anywhere else in the world. That's quite a claim. Claim, yes, but probably just local superstition. We who live here on the Isle of the Crown, at least, sleep well enough at night. Those first 3 islands you mentioned, how might I learn more about them? Ideally, a young man seeking such knowledge would travel to their shores and learn about them firsthand. Meeting the leaders of each place would be helpful, naturally. Unfortunately, the ferry no longer runs between the islands. There's been much political unrest and has been too dangerous to travel for years. Perhaps the ferryman can tell you more. He has little enough to do these days. So there's a bit of a clue of where we need to go next. And if you haven't been there already, you might seek an audience at the castle. Thank you kindly, merchant, for all your good advice. Ah, but advice is free, Alexander. Making use of it costs much more. Alright, so we can see here, nice little cozy bookshop. We've got a fire, we've got some shelves. There's a little book here on the table. Let's give that a look. Alexander rests his feet for a moment. Alexander picks up and leafs idly through a book called The Changing Role of Court Entertainers Throughout the Ages. Well, that was refreshing. Then over here on this little table, there's a small table near the door that bears a sign. The sign has undergone a number of changes. It once read 10 pence, but that was crossed out and replaced with 5 pence, then 1 pence, then free. The sign currently reads, "Take one, please." Only one book remains on the table. It looks as if the bookshop owner really wants to get rid of that book. Well, let's grab it. Alexander picks up the book from the small table. Oh yes, please take that book. You have my most humble thanks for doing so, good sir. Really? Thanks. So what is this thing we just obtained? Alexander is carrying a book from the bargain table in the bookshop. Can we read it? Alexander opens the bargain book and reads a paragraph at random. 2 dulcimers raised to the degree of 40 half dulcimers, divided into equal parts by the third of a cackle of grouse geese, put over the result of 10 fire mackles, albeit small fine mackles, stretched over the total of... Ooh, what an incredibly boring book. No wonder the bookshop owner wanted to get rid of it so badly. Okay, so we've almost exhausted what we need to do in here, but the last thing we can do is look at these shelves. These shelves hold a collection of oddly titled guidebooks. Alexander noticed such books as How to Become a King with Little to No Rupees Down, Finding the Right Girl with the Right Dowry, and Why Good Princesses Like Bad Wizards. So that's all the same, I think, in this shelf. Let's try this one. Volumes of poetry on display in this bookshelf. Okay, so let's grab a poetry book. Thinking of Casimir, Alexander decides to leaf through one of the volumes of love poetry. He reads, "Thy hair, thy lips, thy beauteous face, and all thy studied female grace have won for thee and not a place within this broken breast." Weird. Not bad. And another. "Upon the shore the lilies bend, untouched by worldly care, with a shadow there her earthly bed. Oh, that she were not there." Yikes. And another. "What was it when I looked at you? What power has chained me through and through, and binds my heart with links so tight I cannot live without the sight of you? What nameless thing has captured me and made me powerless to flee? What thing it is without a name that brings my mind back to the same to thee?" Oh man, this is heavy stuff. "The name love cannot apply, its common sense does not descry the haunted, hunted, painful cry that my heart makes for you, that my soul eternal makes for you." A little too close home, that one. Alexander returns the love poem to the shelf. Now notice when that happened, this little thing just sort of fell down here. Alexander picks up the fallen page. It's the love poem he particularly liked. It must have fallen out the poetry book. "I see that old volume has lost another page. You may keep it if you like, sir. I have glued the stubborn thing back in place 2 times already." "I do rather like it. Thank you, merchant." Okay, so you may be wondering, why would we want a love poem? And honestly, when I first played this, I was thinking exactly the same thing. But if you stick with it, you'll find out. So let's just give this a quick save. Now the bookshop's a bit of a complicated one. We have almost exhausted all our possibilities at this point, except for the fact this chair is vacant at the moment. Now when you come back a second time, there is someone in the chair. Now you have to be a bit careful with your sequencing with this, and I'll explain why in the future, but if you miss it out, it changes the whole course of the game. Now King's Quest VI is actually one of the, I think it might be the first King's Quest, I could be wrong with this, where you can have two drastic, or even three drastically different endings, depending on who you befriend, who you talk to, and how you progress with the puzzles. So the person in the bookshop is something we need to make into a friend of ours, and if we don't, as we get further in the game, he kind of just ignores us because he doesn't know who we are. Just coincidentally, you lazy thing, get back to work and stay away from those roses. I've told you a million times, those flowers are too sweet for the likes of you. You've still got to do the breakfast dishes, make lunch, and clean the stables yet this morning. And get your veil back on, no one wants to look at your face. Yes, stepmother. Now King's Quest VI is very, very rich with fairy tale history, or just fairy tales in general, I guess you'd call it. So that little person there that you saw is a reference to Beauty and the Beast, whereas she's the beauty. We haven't met the Beast yet, but she's been imprisoned basically by her evil stepmother. But we will come back to that. Hey stranger, come join me. The water is wonderful and I can show you the way to the next island. Now look carefully, see the glint? So this guy's got a glint in his eye. Now we witnessed the glint in the eye with that sketchy looking dude standing next to the vizier when we went to the castle. So let's just give this a quick save just for fun. Let's see what happens if we jump in and we try and swim to the next island. Alright. Fortunately, the old 386 is not the fastest here. Considering the poor condition of the shore, it looks like the easiest way to get in the water is just to jump off the pier. Glad you could join me, ha ha ha. The powerful current grabs Alexander. Struggle as he might, he feels himself being pulled out to sea. Tee-hee-hee, not a very good swimmer, are you? Help me. Sorry, I think not. Tee-hee. As his head submerges for the third time, Alexander finds himself pondering the wisdom of going out on a limb for a stranger. Ticket, please. Next. So that's Alexander entering the realm of the dead. Alexander couldn't handle those currents. That boy must have been an unbelievably strong swimmer. So this King's Quest is unique, or very unique in many ways, but one of them is we get to visit the land of the dead being alive a little bit later and actually look at that exact scene. Come on, jump in. A little water won't hurt you. So we've just got to ignore this guy for now. What are you waiting for? I said I'd show you how to get to the next island, didn't I? Rather pushy dude. But if we hang around here just for a little bit longer, he should disappear. Alright, be that way. Don't come in the water. You'll be sorry. That's strange. The young boy in the water just disappeared. Oh well, perhaps he just dove under the water. Yeah, not quite the case. Alright, so you can see here this is what's left of an old ferry. So let's just give this door a knock. Yeah, what do you want? Oh. Alexander promises himself that he'll not go home until he's determined what Casimir's feelings are for him and if she needs his help. Do we just sort of... How do we talk to this guy? Go away, the ferry's out of business. I said the ferry's out of business. What do you keep bothering me for? I was clicking in the wrong spot. Let's try the Daventry ring. Oh, it must be that I'm just standing in the wrong spot or something. We should be able to talk to this guy. No, we keep walking back to that same little location. There we go. Excuse me, my name is Alexander. The owner of the bookshop in the village told me you might be able to help me. I hear you used to run this ferry for the islands. I'd like to talk to you, if you have a moment. Yeah, I say old Ali sent you? I can't see why. The ferry's not running, you know. I understand. I'd just like to talk to you about the islands, if you don't mind. Well, I guess it'll be alright if Ali sent you. Don't just stand there. Come on inside. So like everything in King's Quest games, there is a sequence. If you hadn't talked to Ali first, the guy just tells you to go away. What is it you wanted to talk about, young man? I'm a visitor to these islands. I'd like to learn what I can about the area. So you said outside. What is it you want to know? Well, for one thing, why has the island's only ferry been dry docked? It just ain't safe to sail these days. What with the islands feuding and all. Vizier Alzara ordered the ferry closed till things settle down. Me? I don't think she'll ever see water again. But why are the islands feuding? You got me. Something about stolen property or some such thing. 'Tis a real shame. Things used to be so friendly. Then this unrest is recent. A few years is all, but it's been long enough. Perhaps if the ferry were repaired? This old thing? This ferry's been out of the water so long, she's not even seaworthy. Her boards have dry rot, she'd fall apart at the first taste of seawater. But there must be some way to get off this island. There's only one other way to travel that I know of, a magic map. The owner of the pawn shop can tell you more about that than I can, Alexander. Okay, so we've learned there's a magic map. Tell me more about the ferry. I remember when I used to ferry Queen Alaria and Princess Casimir themselves. There was no thought of danger back then. They used to go visiting to care for the needy and to keep up the friendly relations between the islands. I remember their last trip. Things had started getting nasty by then, and when they came back aboard, I gathered the Queen and Princess had been received a bit coldly. Princess Casimir was such a pretty thing, and she was terribly upset. But who could be spreading these lies, she asked the Queen. But the Queen had no answer. So that's interesting. The guys just revealed that they're feuding because of some stolen property or something, and Casimir is referred to spreading lies. So what's going on there? What do you do now that the ferry no longer operates? Me? I'm out of a job. The job my ancestors have held for generations. I'm the only one trained to avoid the reef and the rocks, but that knowledge does me no good now. Is there any other boat on the island? One that might be seaworthy? Boats don't last long on these shoals, as you may have found out if you got here by ship. You can be quite sure that this old ferry is, or was, the only craft on the island. Tell me more about Princess Casimir. Ah, such a beautiful child, and so pure of heart. Why, a contrary thought has never crossed her mind. Her mother was the same. The king and queen, they served the islands, not the other way around, always thinking about the people. They are sorely missed. What else can you tell me about the land? Let's see. The Isle of Wonder's a lovely spot. A bit crazy, mind. You gotta have a good sense of humour to enjoy a tour there. What else can you tell me about the land? The Isle of the Beast is pretty, but unfortunately you can't get very far onto the island. The inhabitants of the Isle of the Sacred Mountain are the most gorgeous creatures you'll ever see. If you ever get to see them, that is. The Castle of the Crown sure is a beauty. She's the finest palace ever built, I'll warrant. Some say the land of Green Isles is near the edge of the world, and that the deadly currents are a result of the magnetism that sucks life from this world into the next. Of course, that's just silly talk. Alright, so at this point here we can see that it's just going to go in a circle. Now what we can do though is you notice on the table there's this thing. There's a rabbit's foot on the table. It seems the ferryman is counting on a little luck. So we can talk about that. No, but we can pick it up. I see you have a rabbit's foot. Has it brought you much luck? Humph. As you can see, my luck's been out for some time, despite that old charm. Why don't you take it with you? Perhaps giving the darn thing away will bring me good fortune at last. Perhaps it will at that. Thank you. Alright, so from this guy we've scored some information. We know that the lands are feuding because of some stolen goods and that lies have been spread. And that ever since the king and queen have kind of died and Casimir was abducted and returned, things have gone downhill steeply. So that's all we can do with this guy. Well, I think I'll be going now. Thanks for allowing me into your home. Posh, not at all. It breaks the boredom, if you know what I mean. So that's about all we can do with the ferryman. Now, if we're lucky, we can now walk back the way we came. And we're going to go back into the bookshop. And we're going to see if another person has arrived. So, Beauty and the Beast girl's no longer here, but that's okay. They've got this lovely hedge of roses, if we have a look. Red roses beautifully cover over the top of the red house's fence and the gate arbour. Don't think we can take one though. So no, we've not been invited to pick the family's roses. I don't think we need them anyway. We can't actually go into the house either because it just says we're not invited. But we have to come back to Beauty and the Beast a bit later in the game. Alright, let's head on into Ali's books. Okay, you can see we've got this extra guy now. Good day again. How may I help you? Well, you can't help me at all. An odd-looking man is reading in the stuffed chair. He wears a vest, balloon-style pants, and pointed shoes. There's something deliberately silly about the man, as though he was a performer of some sort. Now, when we first looked at that book, remember it said something about court performers throughout the ages. So this guy is a court jester, or a castle jester type thing. So he works basically in the castle. So maybe he knows something about Casimir. Good day, sir. Is there anything you can tell me about the land of the Green Isles? I'm sorry, but I've no time for idle conversation. I'm too worried about the princess. Okay, so he does know something. Excuse me again, sir. You mentioned the princess? I told you, I'm not interested in talking to strangers. Now, how can we convince him that we are invested in the princess? Well, if he knows her, she might have spoken about us in Daventry. And luckily, we've still got this ring. And this is important because we have to give this ring away soon. And if we don't show him the ring and make friends later in the game, it makes things a lot more difficult. Determined to learn more about the strange man's relationship with the princess, Alexander shows the man his insignia ring and formally introduces himself. I'm sorry to insist, but my name is Alexander of Daventry, and... I appreciate the offer of the ring, Alexander, but I'm afraid I'm already spoken. Daventry? Where have I heard Daventry? Flying flit mice. You must be the Prince Alexander. Casimir told me about you when she arrived home. How came you here? Why, by a ship, now wrecked upon the sand. But you know Casimir? She truly spoke of me? Yes, yes. I saw her briefly when she first returned home. She mentioned a prince to me, Prince Alexander of Daventry. I'm afraid that was all she told me before she was told about her parents' death. You see, she arrived home a few weeks too late. The king and queen thought they'd never see her again. It is said they died of heartbreak. I'm afraid she's blamed herself. Now, it said they died of heartbreak is a bit suspicious. What a terrible homecoming, if we had only known. Terrible indeed, poor thing. Everyone in the kingdom seems to despair with her these days. The streets are silent. Where is she now? The princess is sequestered in mourning. It's a rather dated tradition and not required, but the vizier says she is insisted out of respect. This vizier guy sounds more evil than evil. I see. You've yet to say who you are and how you know the princess. Oh, pardon me. My name is Jollo. I am clown to the royal court and have been since the marriage of Casimir's parents, King Calipham and Queen Ilaria. Ah, those were happy days. The pair of them were so full of joy and life, so in love. And Casimir's birth. It would be hard to explain how long they had waited, how they had hoped for a child. She was such a charming little thing, smart as a whip, kind and sweet. She means everything to this kingdom, Alexander, and to me. I am so terribly worried about her. About her grief over her parents, you mean? Well, the truth is, I do not trust the vizier, nor his plans for Casimir. I'm still living at the Castle of the Crown as court clown, his clown, but it is more to keep my ear to the ground than out of loyalty. So my suspicions are correct. I do not trust the vizier. And again, the hints are all there. I wish I knew what the princess thinks these days, sire. If only I could find Sing Sing, Casimir's pet nightingale, I might be able to send the princess a message. As it is, I must wait for the end of her seclusion. So, Casimir has a pet nightingale. Now you notice in the pawn shop, I already bought the nightingale, but that's the clue that you might need it. Now I'm afraid I must hurry back to the castle. I'll try to return to the bookshop again later. Thank you for speaking with me, Jollo. I hope we meet again soon. So this friendship with Jollo is useful. As I said, if you miss it, you can still finish the game, but there's multiple ways you can get an ending. There's the easy, most optimal way. There's the optimal way, but not as easy. And then there's the suboptimal way. So we're going to go in this playthrough for the optimal, kind of easier way. And then if time permits, or if I feel like making a follow-up movie or video or whatever, I might go through and actually do the suboptimal way. But for now, we're just gathering information and we're a long way off finishing. Alright, so here we are back in the street. We know the Jester's gone back to the, castle thing. And we also know that Casimir has a nightingale. Now, one other thing we can explore here on the street is this jug, urn thing, pot, I guess. Alexander examines the large pot. It is currently empty, but a few scraps in the bottom indicate that it is used as a dump site on occasion. So it hasn't been used yet, but we know that it is frequently. So we need to keep an eye on this for later. Okay. So can you hear the tweeting here? Now I think we might be able to just use the nightingale as is now, or we might need to wait a little bit longer. Let's find out. Alexander winds the mechanical nightingale and listens to its sweet, sunny tune. Okay, that doesn't help us. So the princess's nightingale sometimes flies around here and you see it land on the branch, but because it's not here yet, we can't progress with that avenue of the story. So we're just going to head back into town and let's have a chat to the pawn shop guy about that map. Good day. Now notice there's this guy in the cloak sort of here, and again you've got that glinting eye. Let's just have a look at him. A mysterious old man also patronises the pawn shop. He steals sidelong glances at Alexander from under his hood. Sketchy. Excuse me, merchant, but the ferryman mentioned that you might have a magic map of the land of the Green Isles. Why, as a matter of fact, I do. I keep it under the counter. It has been gathering dust so long, I nearly forgot about it. It's kind of funny he keeps going on about, oh, he can't go anywhere. Oh, I've actually just got a magic map, but, you know. It was quite a few years ago, you see. The estate of a wealthy wizard fell into my hands when he died. It was useless magical junk mostly. Which reminds me, I've still got some things out of his out the back that I need to dump out. Note that he says I need to dump out. We saw the bin out the front. Anyway, the magic map was the one true treasure in the lot. The wizard was quite old and feeble and an enchanted map to aid in travelling. It is said that one only need desire to be on the island, depicted in the map, to find oneself there. It is a very valuable map, as you can imagine. Unfortunately, no one is interested in travelling these days. It is far too dangerous for the current state of the kingdom. What would you take for the map? I would normally want something magic in return, but since I'm hardly overrun with prospective buyers, I'll be willing to take anything of equal value in exchange. Now what we have of equal value, pretty much only thing, is the Daventry ring. So for now, what I might do is just save the game, because it's been quite a few years since I've played this and I can't remember if I'm going to get the sequence quite right. But we need the Daventry ring to show to Casimir, to show her that we're here. And we do that through the little nightingale. However, we can trade the magic map back for the ring if we desire. So let's just give him the ring. Would you be willing to take my family ring in exchange for the magic map? Daventry, are you a king then? No, that's my father, King Graham. I'm just Alexander. Well, Prince Alex, she is a beautiful ring. Are you sure you can part with such a unique family heirloom? The ring does mean a lot to me. I didn't always have a family, you know. Still, it is only gold. There are more important things at stake now. Then you now own a magic map, Prince Alex. I will keep your ring out of sight for a few days. If you find anything else of great value in your travels, you can return for your ring. I would hate to see it melted down for gold. And a warning about the map. It will only operate when you're out in the open and within sight of the sea. The limitation has something to do with the teleport spell ingredients. You might try the beach. Thank you. You are very kind, and I'll remember about the map. It's all coming back to me now. I do remember what we need to do to get to Casimir, or get to the Nightingale to get to Casimir. So we need to trade something else of equal value. Suddenly, the old man in the concealing cloak sneaks past Alexander, and with a sneaky dart of his hand, steals a mint from the candy jar. The old man stuffs the mint into his mouth and wobbles unsteadily out of the pawn shop. Seconds later, in the castle, Master, I followed Prince Alexander as you wished. From the pawn shop owner, he just abstained, just reprieved. He just got a magic map. You fool, you've been eating those mints again. I ordered you to stop that. Now, at this point in time, we've got to pay close attention to what's on the table here. See, there's this little lamp. Yes, hic, master. Now, what is this about a magic map? With the map, Prince Alexander can travel anywhere as as quickly as I can. Wait, what? I thought I took care of the only means of travel. By my scimitar, I can't have him stirring things up now. Get a hold of yourself and listen carefully, Shamir. Go to the other islands and tell them... Okay, so now we know for certain this guy is evil and dirty. So he's basically limiting travel. He's sequestered the princess, and you can kind of tell he wants to take over the kingdom. And the only thing really standing in his way is the princess at this point in time. So he's going to be pretty dangerous. Alright, so now let's head back outside. And I believe Ali will follow us out in just a second and dump a heap of crap in this thing, or maybe not. Let's just go off the screen and back on. Yeah, I don't think we'll see the Nightingale yet until we travel to at least one other island. And it's all coming back to me now as to why that is. Alright, so there he goes, he's dumped out the rest of the wizard's crap. But you never know what might be in the junk pile. Alexander sorts through the odds and ends that the pawn shop owner dumped into the pot. Magic exploding gum wrappers, a shattered crystal ball, a cracked wand, a fake thumb. Near the bottom, Alexander finds a little glass bottle labelled ink. It appears to be empty, but Alexander decides to take it anyway. You never know when a small bottle will come in handy. So this is a funny one. So you've got, if you have a look in the inventory now, a bottle that appears to be empty. A little ink bottle, it appears is the key word, to be empty. So what do you know about magic and ink? Well, what's that stuff that you have called disappearing ink? Maybe it's full of that. Who knows? But for now, we just need to keep that in mind. Ah, there we go. There's the Nightingale. So we can see the little bird there. Now again, I think what we have to do, I'm just going to save it here in case I get the sequence wrong. As I said earlier, I haven't played this for probably about 5 or 10 years, so it's been a while, and I'm trying to do it without the walkthrough just for nostalgia's sake and for fun's sake for everyone here. I think if we have to come back, because I do remember we have to give the ring to the Nightingale. But I've got a feeling we have to obviously get the ring back first, and now's not the time to do that. Because I think she keeps the ring after you give it to her, if I'm not mistaken. Alright, so here we are inside of water. Let's get our magic map out. Alexander pulls out his magic map. So here are the isles. We've got the Crown, the Beast, the Sacred Mountain, and the Wonder. We're going to start with Wonder. The others, at this point in time, we don't have quite enough information to get very far, at least. We can go there, but you kind of just get stuck. Oh, actually, no, I'm wrong. We do have to go to one of the other islands first. I am mistaken. But there is something we can do right now without impacting anything. So here we are in the Isle of Wonder. You can see all these little clammy oyster things are happily sleeping. This guy's awake. Let's have a chat to him. Why aren't you asleep like the other oysters? I'm so weary, but I can't sleep. I have a terrible ache in my mouth. Now, remember, if you've got an oyster, if it's got an ache in its mouth, it's probably got something stuck in there. And what do oysters have inside them? Well, they have pearls. Now, remember we were in the bookstore, we had that boring book that almost put us to sleep just standing there. Let's give that a try and see if this can put this little guy to sleep. If you're having trouble sleeping, perhaps you'd like me to read to you. Hey, that would be great. I'll save you the pain of me reading through this really weird, boring stuff. Now see, when he opened his mouth, there was a little pearl. If we just click quickly, we can grab it. Hey, you fixed my mouth. It feels great. The little oyster drifts into peaceful slumber with the rest of his oyster friends. Great. So that's helped out this little guy. Now I'm just going to save it. Oops, not going to restore it. Oh, it's the wrong button. We're going to save it. The reason for that is I don't remember 100% if I can grab the incomplete sentence or not yet. So see here, there's this little thing floating. It's like a pinky purple looking thing. Now, if I recall correctly, if we walk out that far into the ocean to grab it, it results in us drowning. A string of letters floats in the water. The letters spell out, "Where are you going?" Alexander's heard of alphabet soup, but this is ridiculous. So let's just hang here for a second and we'll see if we can grab... There we go. See, it floats in. Now we can grab him. Alexander picks up the object floating in the water. It appears to be a string of letters that say, "Where are you going?" Alexander decides to keep the odd sentence, even though it's incomplete. Okay, so let's just really quickly, always do that, really quickly, just save over the top of the one I just created. And that way we've got the little incomplete sentence for next time. Alright, so at this point we can't go any further on this island, nor do we actually need to right now. So we've got a pearl, which is pretty valuable. Let's see if we can trade that back for Alexander's ring. And for those of you wondering why we can't travel further on the island, that will become very apparent probably in part 2 of this playthrough, because we are getting up in time. But first we want to see if we can just communicate with Casimir. So to those of you that haven't played King's Quest V, or King's Quest VI I should say before, you might find this is a little bit slow starting off, but believe me, it gets really intense very quickly. The first bit is all just about gathering bits and pieces, as are most King's Quests and Sierra games. And then the hard part comes, and I mean the really hard part comes, when we have to put them all together. Okay, so the Nightingale's still there, so that's great. So let's head back into town. And back into the old pawn shop. Alright, let's see if we can trade our pearl. And I hope this is the right thing to do, because again, I'm going by memory of, might just save it. I'm going by memory of 5 or 10 years ago, but I'm pretty sure this is the right thing to do. The old 386 save time's a bit slow, but that's okay. I found this large pearl. Might it be valuable enough to ransom back my family ring? I've never seen such a perfect pearl. Certainly, you can have your ring back. Excellent. I'm glad you didn't sell it. I'm a bit attached to it, I'm afraid. Of course you are. You would be cold-hearted if you felt any differently. I'm happy to see a family heirloom back with its rightful owner. Alright. So now let's make a play for this Nightingale. Now again, if you miss this part and you just don't do anything with the Nightingale, you can still finish the game, but Casimir doesn't know you're coming, and again it changes the sequence of events and it makes things a little bit harder. Likewise, if you're not careful with the Nightingale, I think that she doesn't know you're romantically interested in her still, and she thinks you'll just go away or something. But again, we're about to find out. Now again, to get the Nightingale down here, we need to sort of coax it. Mechanical Nightingale sings a sweet tinny tune. The real Nightingale in the tree cocks her head and listens intently. The Nightingale flies to a lower branch and looks at Alexander curiously, as if she were deciding that this human might not be so bad. Okay. So now, we want Casimir to know that we're here. Alexander holds out his insignia ring to the Nightingale, hoping she perhaps is the Nightingale that Jollo spoke of, and that she might be able to take the ring to Casimir. The ring is the one thing he has that might alert Casimir to his presence on the Isles. Now take a look at this snake up here too. The Nightingale swoops down and grabs the ring. She flies off toward the castle, perhaps to Casimir, but notice that little snake just observed our transaction. Sing Sing, what have you got in your mouth, my pretty? A gold ring? Sing Sing, where did you get this? Realm of Daventry? But this is Alexander's ring. Oh my soul, he must be here. Sing Sing, I wish you could tell me what you've seen. Is he really here, then, on this very island? Oh, if you could only leave this castle as easy as only if I could leave this castle as easily as you. Take this ribbon, Sing Sing. If you know where he is, return it to him. Please be careful, Alexander. It is so dangerous, and yet I could not wish you away. Now, I can't remember if... I think this is optional. We do use the ribbon a little bit later. But maybe it's not. Time will tell. The little bird makes a delivery. Oh no, it's not optional. Oh, actually... No, it is optional. Sorry, going backwards and forwards here. It is a red velvet hair ribbon. Could it be? Could it possibly belong to Casimir herself? Or am I merely wishing it was so? Sigh. Now, if we look at the ribbon, I think there's a hair on it. A lady's hair ribbon is made of the finest red velvet. Ah, a long strand of black hair is caught in the ribbon. Alexander examines the red ribbon and finds a strand of long black hair. Yeah. So again, remember I mentioned there were two ways of finishing this game, or two big different ways of finishing it. You need the black hair to cast a spell. And if you don't cast that spell, you have to go the alternate way. Alright, now. Alexander's still a bit confused if this is Casimir or not. So, what we can do to get a bit more of a personal response is, I believe this is our love poem here. I don't really want to read it. Ugh. What we can do is we can give the love poem to the bird. And that's going to tell Casimir that we really are keen on her. Alexander holds out the love poem, hoping the bird will deliver it to the same place she took the ring, in the chance that the receiver might truly be Casimir. The Nightingale swoops down, grabs the love poem and takes it towards the castle. Sing Sing, my sweet, you bring another present. Let me see. It's a poem, Sing Sing. What was it when I looked at you? What power has chained me through and through and binds my heart with links so tight I cannot live without the sight of you? Oh, Alexander! I was hoping he'd return to you. Take this to him while he waits. Hurry, my fleet one. Okay, we have a note. The little bird makes a delivery. It's a note. Dearest Alexander, I cannot believe you are here, my friend. Please, please be careful. Abdul isn't about to let anyone interfere with his plans. Watch out for Abdul's genie, Alexander, and do not do anything rash. I am not without resources, and I will prevail if only I can find some small means of defence. Do nothing to try to get to me. You must not be endangered again for my sake. Greatly in your family's debt, Casimir. Alexander's hand trembles as he reads the note. For the first time in his long search, he has heard her voice again, if only in writing. No words of love, only friendly concern. Friend? Is the maiden merely shy, or does she regard him only as a brother? I can't remember if we could send anything else with a bird. I don't think so. Yeah, I think that's about it. Alright, so looking at the time, we've been playing well over an hour now. So where we're at now is we've let Cassima know that we're back and we're interested in her. She's replied saying that she is trapped by this Abdul person, but don't do anything about it. Now, obviously, we are going to do something about it. We have a magic map and we can travel to the islands now and start gathering some more resources and making a bit of a plan. And that's what we're going to do in part 2. At this point, I want to thank you so much for watching. It means a lot to me that you've stuck through and got to this part, especially over an hour. In the next part, it will get a lot quicker and a lot more fast-paced as we get everything together and we start solving some really difficult puzzles. Stay tuned for that part 2 coming up soon. I will catch you on that one. See you later.